Alright guys, welcome to part 9 of the Type RA restoration. In this vid I'm going to be focusing on the rear end, which includes my missing gas door, rear bumper, the tail light filler panels, the trunk, the spoiler, and I'm going to do a couple other little things at the same time just to maximize my paint. Here I've got all my parts ready to, some of them need sealer, some of them don't. So I've put the ones that don't need sealer at the back, and then everything from here forward does need sealer. Just to maximize my paint sessions here, I do have the front fog light covers in here as well, the skirts as well, my taillight filler pieces, my spoiler, and the gas door. So what I've done is screwed a lot of my stuff to little sticks, and then I just have them on a hook so I can take them off the hook to make sure that I get everything, because spraying them when they're hanging, they just go all over the place, and it's really difficult to get a good spray when your stuff's moving like that. So these will be handy, being able to take them off the hook. All right, let's go. Alright, we're back. It's the next day here. Everything is coated, and let me tell you, it didn't go super well. My first issue was this wire holding the spoiler broke. The spoiler didn't fall, but it swung down and made this wire bounce, so the fuel door fell off onto the ground. One of these fell off onto the ground. The rear bumper looks really good. I'm happy with that. The spats look really good, so I can put the bumper and the spats on, no problem. Skirts looking sweet, I'm happy with them, that's great. Now on to the trunk. When I started, I did not have this anchor. I don't know if it helped, but painting swinging parts is very difficult. This, you see here, was a super huge run, kind of dripping down like an ice cream cone. Above the run, it looks sweet, right? Because I mean, it's just flooded. So this actual swiping was me going over it with a paddle to minimize the dimension of it. So what I'm gonna have to do at the trunk now is I'm gonna block this all flat. I'm gonna block the whole trunk and flow coat it. I would say the reason for this happening is the trunk is swinging back and forth. So I cannot keep up with it with the gun in compensating for the distance of my gun away from the trunk. So essentially what it did here was swing into my gun as I was making a pass, and yeah, here we are. So lesson learned. The reason I did it is I had to do both sides. The underside looks totally super sweet. So now when I go to flow coat the top, I'll just put it on a rack and just do the top, and I'll back mask the underside of the trunk there. Spoiler hanging, definitely a challenge. I got a little tiny run there, so you can see it just coming over the edge. Fixing them on the edge is quite easy. So I'll just block over that, a little polish. Otherwise, considering the difficulty of spraying the spoiler hanging like this, it turned out really good, so I'm happy otherwise and thankful. All right, next step here, I'm gonna get the stuff out of the booth that doesn't need to be in the booth anymore. The rest that needs some TLC can stay, and I will begin on that and show you guys the process along the way. Here I'm going to jump into the trunk section. I have my harness kind of taped up there and dangling there. I've got to go through the harness and make sure it is okay. Repair anything that needs repairing and then drape it all back out where it belongs so that I'm ready to put my taillights in. These were my original taillight harnesses. You can see they have vampire clips, assorted butt connectors, a ground strap, cut wires coming out of the plugs, so none of that is a good sign. Thankfully, the donor taillights I have a perfect and uncut harness. So I'm hoping the sketchiness is just isolated to the taillight harness itself and not the actual car harness. All right, I spoke too soon, so there is a cut wire there. I can see it should go to here, and now it turns black, and then that should also go to here. So yeah. Paint booth emptied out. I am ready to throw the trunk onto the stand here. We are into some mega sanding and a flow coat. So in this side, I guess it wasn't swaying as much. The finish turned out a lot better, but this whole top section just went not good. Hey, there we are on the stand. You can see my smear I did to try and minimize the three-dimensionalness. Alright, with the trunk sanded and ready to mask and re-clear, I'm gonna let that be for a bit. It needs to gas off a little before I can move forward with it. Now I'm gonna be moving on to the spoiler. So I got a pretty decent nib there, so that shouldn't be too bad. Another decent little nib there. And then my finale here is little run activity. So I'm gonna get that sanded all out. I'm now ready to get into my flow coat on the trunk here. So I've got the underside all masked, and I masked all the little holes the best I could so that I don't get like mist going underneath of the trunk and making it look foggy on my underside. I wanna keep that nice and shiny. Back with the trunk here, I do have some issues to correct. I mean, it got better with more coats, but the finish itself is not as good as I would like. So what I'm gonna do is go over this with 1,000, 1,500, then up to 3,000, and then I can give it a polish, and that should be ready to put on. That's my main goal, is I just wanna put it on and be able to put the spoiler on, not have to polish them later just because of the difficulty with the spoiler on and getting underneath. So here we are after sanding it all up to 3,000. I didn't go near like the edges or this little body line and stuff like that because it's just unnecessary. The back of the trunk already had like a really good finish, so Because I had a run here and a nib here, after sanding them, it really slicked it out. So I had to at least match the rest of it, or you'll notice those spots that I slicked out. So I'm gonna let this gas off for a day and then get back on it with some polishing, and I can put it on the car. Well, I got into my polishing there, and needless to say, I frigged up. Got it a little too hot here, it bubbled, and that was it. So back to the drawing board. On the trunk lid here, I'm gonna have to feather this out, probably almost the whole top of the deck, sand everything on the back there, and I'm going to have to, because this gray is the sealer primer, I'm going to have to repaint it to fix this, like repaint the whole thing. Underside's fine, but the top, nope, not fine at all. So what did I do wrong in doing this? I think too fast, too quick, and too hard, and a little too anxious to get this trunk done, which bit me in the butt, because now it's gonna take me, you know, by the time I prep the trunk, get the sealer back on it, base coat and clear, you know, probably spread out over 3 days at minimum. Yay. There it is, feathered out, so now there's no more hard edges, so I don't have to worry about, you know, if I do a little skim over this, that I'm gonna have some sort of separation or unusual shrinkage. This should be a little easier to manage, so what I'm gonna do is do a little skim over that, let it dry, block it out, and then carry on with preparing the rest of the trunk for a primer. Here we are back with the trunk again, and it's back into epoxy primer now. So I'll block this out. As long as I don't burn through, I can just paint my base over this and carry on. Since I was doing the trunk and I've done a good bit of body work on the hood so far to get out any dents, I did another coat of epoxy on this. This may need more work, but I still had to do this anyways. If I'm filling the gun, I might as well max out. With the trunk lid all fixed up now, I've got some sealer primer on this. I figured to make the most of my booth use here, I brought the bumper in as well. Some sealer primer on this, and now I'm ready to get into my base coat. And fingers crossed, this goes better than the last time. We are back with the trunk, right where we started. So it did turn out okay. I'm happy with it, no runs, and you cannot see my boo-boo anymore. Couple nibs here and there, but nothing we can't polish out. This time I'm gonna let it cure a lot longer than last. And at the same time, I figured I would max out my booth space here, so I got the front bumper done. This was definitely a difficult piece to paint. Very hard to get the base in all these little holes and stuff like that. So I really had to turn down the gun and the fan to be able to get a nice precise spray. Again, getting all these little fins here. I actually was lifting it up like this so that I could spray them from the back as well to get a nice coverage, and it did turn out good. I'm happy with it. No runs on the bumper, and it's a decent finish, so I am able to put this aside for when I do the front end of the car. And we are getting pretty close. I am quite excited. The guide coat has turned the floor coat. Let me try this again here. Back onto attempting to guide coat the hood here. So my aerosol can exploded. We've had issues with them before. So this time I'm gonna try like a dry powder guide coat, which already seems to be better because rather than like just little dots, now it like really covers your piece. the hood all sanded, so I have a good assortment of front end dents, which is, you know, very expected in a 30-year-old car with an aluminum hood. Then a couple dingers up here. This guy is actually a high spot from too long of a bolt going in through the bottom. A couple light dingers here, and then another high spot from, yep, too long of a bolt going in from the bottom. And then lastly, this corner was bent, so I only bent it back up the best I could, and I'll have to do a little bit of tuning there to make that just right. Back on the hood here, I have hit the little blemishes with some filler. I'm gonna get into sanding these, sand out the rest of the hood, make sure I'm good to stick some more primer on it. One more sand and we should be ready to paint this. I don't have much left to paint. So I have the grill there. The grill I'm gonna do black. I don't want to do it red because I feel like it's going to wash out the front of the car with just too much red. I have the scoop, I have the lip, and I have the vents. It's my bumper looking cool with my skirts. So I forgot to record there. I got the trunk lid on. I still have to put the guts into the trunk lid itself, but now I can start to line this up and prepare to put the guts in the trunk lid and then get the spoiler on. And yeah. With the trunk resurrected, I can carry on with finishing the bodywork on the hood. I got the hood into a couple coats of filler primer yesterday. This should be it for the bodywork on the hood, which is awesome. So now I'm going to bring it back over to the other side. I'm going to block it out one more time, and then we can bring it back in here. We have a handful of things left to paint. This time I'm not going to risk painting it hanging like I did with the trunk because that definitely backfired in the end. With the trunk all together here, I've noticed I am missing a couple little things. So there'd be a bumper there, a bumper there. So I'm gonna see if Subaru has those bumpers. I imagine they're still available. They're pretty generic for the most part. Aside from that, I have brought up some of the rear interior stuff. So this rear trunk carpet is actually from a GD Impreza. Just plopping it in there, it actually fits very well. I think it will be fine for now. What's cool about the GD one fitting so well is I have a bunch of the GD rubber trunk mats. So I could put that over top as well, which kind of looks cool. They're pretty neat. So these are the quarter panel trims. Originally, when I started with the Type RA, none of this stuff was in the trunk. It was completely, as you see it, just empty, bare. So these, over the years, I found at, you know, the wreckers and stuff like that. They're okay condition. They're a little dirty. So what I'm going to do is clean up some of the stuff on these and stick them in the car. And that, you know, for the most part, completes the rear trunk section inside and outside of the car. Again, because this was a Type RA, it originally came with a wingless trunk. I've put the RS wing on it. I thought it kind of needed something to accent the rear, especially since it's gonna have like a full lip kit on it. My original trunk was destroyed. It had a bazillion holes in it. This was actually another trunk that I found. It already had the holes for the RS wing, so I kind of just went with it. There we are with the trunk interior in. It really does look nice now being complete with an interior. I don't exactly have all the proper clips for it. The mat fits decent considering it's a GD. I mean, I've got some overhang here, so I could always trim that to pull it back a little further. I don't have the spare tire in or the little board that goes over top of it, so it is sinking a little bit there. All right, next bit here is the front grille. So the bodywork is done on it. It's in primer. I didn't know what color I wanted to do this. I had considered doing it all the body color, but I didn't want to wash out the front end with too much red. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do it all in a gloss black for the grille. So I'm going to prep my stuff here and give it a spray. There we are with the grille after the paint. It looks super sharp. I really like it. Turned out really good, but it is a small and simple piece to do. So I'm going to bring this back over to the other side while it awaits the rest of the front end. So now we've got the lip in here all prepped to go. And the underside of the hood, this was kind of difficult to plan out. So I've got to get the underside of the scoop and the underside of the vents. I thought I could attach them, spray the bottom, back tape it, and spray the top. But the vents are a little too complex to do that with. I'm worried about overspray going around them, then having to deal with that on the top, which is going to be more important. So I've come up with another solution for the vents that I'm going to implement later. So for now, I'm going to get the base and the clear on the underside of the hood, the scoop, and the front lip, and we are very much nearing the end of painting this car, which is super sweet. So here we go, guys. I'll take you along for the ride. We've got everything into clear. So I don't show you guys like every coat, but typically I do 3 coats of base and 3 coats of clear. It definitely looks really good. Happy with it. So from here, we've got to flip the hood over, back mask it, paint the top and underside of the vents, and then the top side of the scoop. And guess what? We're all painted after that. Yay, woo! And to wrap this up here, I have ordered myself a windshield. The windshield will definitely hold me up in assembling the rest of the car. So I've got a windshield coming. Then I can put on the trim. I've got new trim for the front top and the rear top of the window, which will make it look nice. Mine were kind of decaying because they're like half rubber, half, you know, stainless coated in rubber, and they're just kind of aging. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap up this video here. In the next one, we are going to finish painting the front end part, put them all together, and make this a truly complete car. That goes without saying, there is still a bunch of things to do before this is really actually done. I've got to restore the front seats, some more interior touches, some more trunk interior touches. I've got to figure out which of the wheels I'm going to put on this. I've got the original Goldies, and then I have some black 17-inch Advan 5-spokes, which I think would look really sharp on the red car with the couple black accents. Let me know what you guys think about the potential wheel choices there and what we should go with. I am really looking forward to seeing the front end on this. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you stay tuned for the next one. Hopefully I can get it done sooner than later.